Helen, we've got Michael McMillan here.
We do.
Enjoyed listening to that great set of his. I think we listened to about 11 songs.
Yes, we did.
And some cool stories. Now, I can't wait to learn a lot more about Michael.
Right.
Michael, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Man, tell us, you're all the way from Glasgow, Scotland. Is that where you were born and raised?
Yeah, born and raised in Glasgow, yep.
Now, that's something that is going to be, to say it's foreign to us would be spot
accurate.
on, but it'd be accurate. But you've traveled the States pretty extensively.
Yeah.
How does it differ? How did growing up there, you think, maybe differ from life over here?
Well, it's funny. Has anybody ever been to Edinburgh? Okay, so in Edinburgh at 1 o'clock, the gun goes off in the castle. So when the gun goes off in Edinburgh, it's 1 o'clock. In Glasgow, you never really know what time it is. So it's quite similar. I did a gig in Greenwich Village in New York, and this guy, I won't do the accent, I'm terrible at doing New York accents, but this guy said to me, he says, "You're from Glasgow?" And yeah, he says, "That was the murder capital of Europe." And I said, "Well, yeah, it was one day, back in the day." And he says, "Yeah," he says, "but you guys don't have guns." He says, "That's pretty tough." So I just find cities the same, people are people, and I like to get off the beaten track and meet real people. And a guy in Nashville or New York or San Francisco or Glasgow, they're all much the same, really. We're all just people. Thank you for leaving your phone on.
So, at what age did you decide you wanted to play music?
Okay, so as a young kid, I spent a lot of time with my grandfather, and he let me listen to classical music. And that sounds kind of boring, but he would bring it to life. He would tell me what each instrument was and what the story behind the music was. So from there, I kind of started listening to other music and lyrics, especially. And Glasgow at that time was a very gang-filled city. There was gangs everywhere. So to get out of that, you either joined or you didn't go out, or you could do music. So I joined a pipe band and played bagpipes. So all of a sudden you've got 23 buddies, as you call them, or mates. And it's the best gang to be in, because nobody asks you what colour you are, what religion you are, what weight you are, what size you are. If you can play, you're in. So,
and you're making so much noise, nobody's going to come near you.
Exactly. And there's 23 of you.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
as loud as the bagpipes were, 23 together, can you imagine?
It's loud.
Wow.
It's pretty loud.
Yeah.
And so where do 23 bagpipe players go and play exactly?
Well, you'd be surprised, because I've played at the Royal Albert Hall, the Royal Lyceum Theatre in London, and a lot of big venues with a pipe band, which I haven't played as a musician yet. But honestly, pipe bands are very welcome all over the world. There's probably more pipe bands in Canada than there is in Scotland. There's huge.
Wow.
Pipe bands are very, very.
I guess in a bigger arena, there's room for them too.
Yeah, you wouldn't have a home concert for a pipe band. That would
be hard to do.
It'd be a bit squash for the band and very loud. Yeah.
So you started playing that, and at some point in time, you picked up that Takamine or something similar to it. Tell us about that.
A long way away. So after the pipe band, I learned to play drums. Okay. And I started playing drums in rock bands in the 70s. And I ran away from home at the age of 16 and went down to London with a friend of mine, a guy called Brian Robertson, who played in a band called Thin Lizzy. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Oh, yeah.
So he played with Thin Lizzy, and I played with a guy called Paul Kossoff, who played in a band called Free. Don't you remember Free? So I played drums with his band for a while, and I played in London for a while as drums, and got involved in all sorts of things. And I always wrote lyrics down. I always wrote poems. I liked lyrics. I think as a kid, if somebody said something to me, you better come through, don't just say it. And lyrics meant a lot to me, and I would start to listen to words, songs from the Beatles and the Kinks and the Hollies, and then some of the American influences, Jackson Browne. I just loved the way lyrics could say things. So I started writing them down. They weren't songs then, but many, many years later, a good friend of mine started to teach me to play the guitar, and he's still teaching me. I wouldn't call myself a guitar player, but I'm a songwriter. So that's where it all came about. Not that long ago, maybe about 15 years ago, 16 years ago, I started playing guitar and writing songs.
So you feel like the guitar catapulted your poetry or your writing into actual song format, it was easier to develop with the guitar?
Very much so. Although you're very limited. If you're a limited guitar player, you're limited to what formats you can use. But then there's the capo, or capo as we call it in Scotland. So it's the musician's best friend. You know.
Yeah.
You can just
Did you know that if you have a capo that you're allowed to have a handicap tag to park?
Really?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that. But somebody once told me if you put the capo above 5, get a ukulele. You know, but no, so I started writing, putting my lyrics to music.
Right.
And when you started playing guitar, and you started putting these lyrics together, where did you play? Where were the first places that you got to go and share your music?
So there's quite a variety. In Scotland there was a bunch of coffee shops called Bean Scene, and there was, I think, 32 of them spread all over Scotland, and they would allow you to come and play for free. Very big of them. And as long as you brought people. So I think I played every one of them. And you're saying things like, this is a song I wrote for Passionates. Whose is the laddie? Mm-hmm. You know,
so you're competing.
It was coffee houses.
We've all experienced that, I think.
Yeah, but I also, after I left the police, I became an addictions worker. I was a counsellor in addictions for drugs and alcohol, and I worked in the prisons, and I played some concerts in prison as well, which I love doing. I can relate to these guys. They're by the grace of God.
As amen.
Absolutely. So, but no, I loved playing in prisons. But yeah, that was kind of the early days. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And where would you like to be? And you and I talked about, you called me one day from your home, and we chatted about you playing around Texas so much, and you told me you had a real affinity for Texas in this area. In saying that, where else would you like to really hit over here in the States that you feel like you haven't done yet?
Truthfully, Randy, I just want to play to a listening audience. And I mean, I played at Celtic Connections to a couple of thousand people. I played to house concerts to 10 people. Mm-hmm. So just where there's a listening audience, I'm happy to go anywhere as long as there's a listening audience. I can't do, the rowdy joints because they don't want me and I don't want them.
Right.
But I'd love to play anywhere in the United States and Canada and anywhere else that there'll be a listening audience.
What about Texas?
Love it.
Gives you that? What's the big appeal for you?
Well, I suppose it's like you guys talking about Scotland. I don't know anything about Texas. I've been in the hill country and I love the hill country people.
There, yeah.
But they're very much like the Scots. You know where you stand. If they like you, you know it. If they don't like you, you know it. And that's what I like. But having moved down here to Waxahachie,
you got it.
I'm sure that must be a Native American word. Sure
it is.
Yes, it is. Okay. Buffalo Creek. It means Buffalo Creek.
Everybody I've met in Texas has been really kind and welcoming and all that. I'm sure it's not all like that. Same as in Scotland.
Actually, Texas is pretty much like that.
It is,
yeah.
Have you got to tour other places in Europe as well as your native country?
Not musically. I've been all over Europe. My wife and I were in Venice in February. And we can go to Venice and stay there for 3 days for $300, not each, for both of us.
Wow, heck
So we've been to a lot of European places, but not musically. I often wondered about Europe because I thought, will they understand?
Just take your guitar and play.
But will they understand what I'm saying? I mean, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Actually, they understand. I mean, they've been buying the same records you did. They bought the Kinks and they bought the Hollies and they bought the same group of people. By the way, you mentioned the Kinks when you started mentioning writers.
Ray Davis.
A lot of people don't realize how good a writer he really is.
Oh, I mean, Waterloo Sunset.
Yeah.
I like stories. I like songs that take you to a place and time.
Come Dancing.
Eleanor Rigby.
Come Dancing was such
Come
a
Dancing,
cool song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere I can imagine being there, and that's what I try to do when I write a song, is to touch somebody's life or take them to a place.
Have you thought about reaching out and finding a manager to get you booked, in Europe or wherever?
I think about it daily.
Yeah.
How do you do that? I mean, you send 1,000 emails to people that don't read them.
Yes, Randy Treadway, and he'll hook you up.
Do you know him?
I do.
Right. Do you know him well?
Very well.
Okay. Well, I must speak to you after about that.
Okay.
But no, joking aside, I mean, for me, I've suddenly realised after so many years, it's about relationships. You know, it's
It
about
really
building,
is.
You know, building relationships,
It's networking.
meeting people, but,
Yeah.
but about being genuine as well. There are people that network and it's clearly false and just. But you know, I want to build friendships and lasting lifetime.
That's what we call networking in Texas.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think people in Texas look for that, the same thing you're looking for. That may be the reason that you have a symbiotic relationship with people down here real easy. You had mentioned, Mark Gorman, who's sitting behind me, one of my favorite artists, and Mike Blakely, another one of our favorites that you were just with a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn good company, Michael.
That is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been blessed, I really have. And I'm not kidding myself, and the Scottish thing is obviously a wee angle. There's not many Scottish people down here playing bagpipes. I hope.
No.
There's
You're
not
the
many-
first here.
God help you.
There's not many Scottish singer-songwriters that I hear about.
No.
Like I said, the last Scots woman that we had was Sarah McQuaid.
Right. I don't know
I think-
Sarah.
She's
No.
living in England now,
Yeah,
but she's
she's-
from Scotland.
Something must have happened.
I think it was like a marriage or something,
Must be a man involved.
Must be a man involved. Speaking of relationships, you have your beautiful wife, Alex,
Just
with
wondered
us.
where you were going there. Sorry.
Why don't you introduce her?
Yeah.
Yes.
I know her.
Well,
Hello,
yeah.
Alex. I'm your husband, Michael. This is my husband.
So,
This
how
is my
long
wife.
have you been married to Alex?
All my life? No.
Wow.
13 years.
13?
13 years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you guys have any children from previous relationships?
We have
or-
5 between us.
Okay.
I have 2, aged 33 and 31.
Mhm.
And Alex is 3, aged 27, 25 and 21 soon.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we've had our moments. I'm joking aside, all you listeners out there in Radioland, don't give up. Do you know, I'm not a great Bible quoter or anything like that, but I think Matthew 9, 18, 23, whatever it was. You can cut this bit out if you want to.
No.
But it's a bit about
Not at
Jesus.
all.
Jesus is going through the crowd, and the synagogue leader comes to him and says, "Can you heal my daughter?" And this woman that's been bleeding for 12 years touches his cloak and is healed. And I'd read that 100 times and thought nothing of it. But we split up in 2013 for various reasons. And I thought, that's it, done. But if you're going through whatever you're going through, don't give up. It's not over till he says it's over.
Right.
And it's not dead until he says it's dead. And it doesn't matter how long it's been broken for. 12 years the lady was bleeding for, it can still be fixed. Coincidence, the synagogue leader's daughter was 12 years old as well.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm not, get off your soapbox and stop the preaching, Michael. That's not my thing. But just whatever you're going through, don't give up. Don't give up.
Right.
You know,
Well, and that's a problem. A lot of times, people are too apt and eager to give up because that's the easy road.
Well, we live in a kind of fast fix society,
Yeah.
society now, don't we? If it's
You don't
broken
have to
through,
worry about sharing your heart in this room.
Yeah.
No, I know.
So
but,
it's all good.
Yeah, but yeah.
We've all shared our hearts in here and shed a few tears in this room. So
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
Kimberly.
Tonight
Yeah.
especially.
So Michael, you're going to come back again to the States when? Next year?
When am I invited?
Well,
Our
I
door's
mean,
always open.
Delta's ready when you are. That's what
Joking
they say,
aside,
right?
I need to. So we're coming through customs this time. I always get a rough time coming through customs. I don't know why, but this time the guy was really nice. He says you need to get a visa sorted, so I need to do that. As soon as we go home, we'll be on the case. But I think it can take up to 5 or 6 months to get through. I don't know.
How does the visas work? Do you have to have a sponsor, or how
I'm
does
not
it
sure. I don't know anything about it yet. I just know it costs, I think, $160, and it's for 6 months. I can come into the States for 6 months. I don't know how many times for 6 months. No, I think it's just. But so I need to do that because God willing, I'll be back in March.
Yeah.
We'll be back
Great.
in March.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, know that you've got another home to come to here.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
so kind of you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I want to be sure and let me just ask this, since we've got a good audience here tonight. Would any of you guys like to ask Michael any questions?
Go ahead.
About anything. You can
And the
ask me
reason
about anything.
Michael told me before this show started tonight that he often asks people to do this, so I told him we'll see how it develops. So
Here we
Here's
go.
what we can hear. Okay, Valerie has a question for you, Michael.
I have a question about your hat. Can you tell me the story behind your hat and all the patches on it?
You're going to be really disappointed. I was walking.
he found it in a Goodwill store in Midlothian.
Basically, Yes, this tartan is from William Wallace's kilt, and this is Robert. No, I was. We were at the Edinburgh Festival one year, and there was a guy making hats on the Royal Mile,
I love it.
and that's what I said.
Yeah.
Exactly
Are
what
they
I said.
Scotch plaids?
Yeah, yeah,
tartans.
they're all tartans. He's made me another one as well, and a top hat. I've got a top hat as well. But that's a bit over the top. It's a tartan top hat. So,
Nice.
Next time you come,
I love it.
just bring some hats with you and sell them.
they're in the car.
They're in the
They are in the car. They are actually in the car. Yeah.
In a car
They're mine.
near you.
I don't
in
sell
a car
them.
near you. I have a question. Do you need me to come over there?
No,
No.
you can. We can hear you.
Okay, I know your song is religious about God and everything. Have you always had religion, or
Or faith?
Did you find your faith?
Oh, this opens a can of worms.
Nice.
How much do you want to hear?
Good can.
We've got
Um,
all night.
Okay,
Good.
so I was brought up by two sides of the family, Russian Jews and Irish Catholics.
Oh.
Oh,
So
wow.
in Glasgow, which is a sectarian city, you know.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to know religion. I did not want to know religion. You know, learning Latin and learning Hebrew and 4 Hail Marys and 5 backflips or whatever it is the Jewish people do. I just did, and all my life as a kid I was fighting because the Jewish people didn't consider me Jewish, and
Right.
the Catholic didn't. So religion, I did not want to know it. I really didn't. But it took me many, many years. It was only 2004. I gave my life to Jesus.
Amen.
I like to say I'm a follower of Jesus as opposed to a Christian, because not all Christians are that great. You know? Just saying.
Actually, they are great. They're forgiven.
Absolutely. Well, they're always forgiven. They're always forgiven. I think Gandhi said, "I like your Jesus, but I'm not too keen on your Christians." You know, so 2004, I was working in the prisons and stuff was going on, and a whole load of coincidence. Things happened, and you know, that's the short story.
Yeah. Well, I can see how you'd be awfully confused and not want to do anything, because talk about two different sides of the coin.
That's like
Absolutely.
total different
Yeah.
spectrums.
But
Yeah.
I'm glad you found the Lord.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not a religion now. You know, it's not a
Yeah.
religion now. It's just it's a walk. And somebody asked me last week, when did you become a Christian? I said, every day.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
'Cause-
I found it interesting in here this afternoon. I'm walking through here with Michael and Alex, and they're looking at the flags, and he starts reading Hebrew off the Israeli flag, off the Jerusalem flag, and I'm going, there's a lot more to this guy than meets.
it just says Yerushalayim. It just means Israel. That's all it means.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't begin to read it or understand it.
See, it's hanging in our house, and we don't even know what it means.
Yeah.
So now we do.
That one you need to take down. The British one. You need to get a Scottish flag up.
Now, you see, our flags all have some sort of meaning to us.
I know. Randy was saying.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But now, if you choose to send us a Scottish flag, we
We will
might
put
be
it
able to
up.
find a way to do
Why
it.
don't you just cover the British one?
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
I've got an idea how to use it if you send it to me, and it's legal.
Does anybody have any more questions for Michael?
Alex, have you got any? This is your time to get him on tape right
Not
now.
seen.
There was that time.
There was more than that.
Well, Michael, I'm gonna just ask you if you'll come back,
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. Without
and
a doubt.
we'll find a way to make that happen.
Yeah, thanks for having
Okay.
me. It's been a real
And
blessing being here.
I too want to thank Helen for all she does and all that she puts up with.
Thank you.
And Reno, thank you for being back there. June, Barbara, Chris, and Val, the people that make this whole thing work. And we miss Bruce Davis tonight, not being here. But he's just not feeling good, and he didn't want to bring to y'all what he was feeling.
He
So
told me to
Yes.
give all y'all hugs.
yeah,
I
Yes.
spoke to him right before we got
yeah, and she did. So Michael, thanks again, and you're in the music room.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me. Thank you.